What's up, y'all? Welcome to, there's the camera. What's up, y'all? Welcome to this video. We're going to talk about conflict resolution 101. Now, this is a deeper training than basic conflict resolution because it's also going to reveal deeper tracks, subconscious beliefs, core beliefs that you may have had an experience or two. You'll find you've had several experiences, maybe even a dozen, maybe even more that you'll be able to recall. But there'll be at least one where there's some level of rumination and you experienced a conflict shock, which I'll define that, and then we're going to go in the conflict shock. Again, there's 3 criteria. Number 1, you were caught off guard. Number 2, you were overwhelmed and shocked and frozen in a sense. And number 3, you were isolated. So when those 3 all happen at once, boom, that impacts a certain part of your brain, turns on a biological adaptive response, and we call the resolution of that response dis-ease. So what is resolution 101? It's finding the core of the interpretation mechanism, which is your psyche, which is an unconscious belief and story that's going to continue to play out memory after memory, experience after experience, until you bring awareness to it and resolve it. And so here are the steps to that process. So number 1, symptoms. Start with your symptoms, whatever they are. If it's digestive issues, if it's migraines, eczema, acne, insomnia, whatever it might be, start with identifying your symptoms. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have some symptom that you've already identified. From there, and it could help, but most likely it's going to come right away. You get still, close your eyes, tune into those symptoms, and then simply ask your unconscious mind, what memory is connected to this? What am I ruminating on? What still hurts? What am I still in resistance to in my past that are connected to these symptoms? And first notice that as the memories start coming up, notice you may find a memory that occurred. Well, number 1, you need to find a memory that has a shock in it, right? Chances are if you're ruminating, there probably was some sort of shock, but that's not always true. So try to find the experience that fits that DHS criteria of those 3. Overwhelmed, caught off guard, shocked, caught off guard, and had some form of isolation. Find that moment and see your symptoms. Check if your symptoms started pretty quickly after that, or after that situation specifically, that memory had some sort of resolution, or you were out of the experience. Or just see if you could find the connection to the memory and the symptoms in terms of a short time period after. And many of you will find a lot of your symptoms happened after this DHS response. Once you find the memory, which we want to look, the key quality of the memory is rumination. Rumination simply means it's your brain going, look, there's something here you haven't discovered yet. There's a truth you haven't discovered yet. And we're going to keep bringing it up because it wants to complete itself. It wants to integrate. It wants to heal. So there's something, and I'll get to this in a moment, there's something I've either denied in that memory that keeps it coming up, that wants to integrate, wants to be included, or something that I've internalized, some lie that I've assumed to be true about myself from that experience. And it's bringing it back up because that wants to be integrated and understood and transformed. So look for rumination. Number 2. And again, a lot of times, you're ruminating. Don't do that. Just change your focus. No, that's happening for a reason. Your psyche's trying to protect you. If there's rumination on the past, there's anxiety of the future, by definition, because that's the source of anxiety. Let me protect you from the future, from something that may happen. That's called a frontal fear conflict. And if there's a powerlessness conflict, which is rooted in denial, that means I can't do anything about it because I'm denying a part of myself. So how can I change something I deny? There's powerlessness. And then, so at all costs, I have to avoid it. So let me actively try to avoid a future scenario. That's anxiety. So rumination, when that's resolved, so will anxiety. Once you find that memory, just start with one memory. I know you might have a few. Start with one and pick the one that's most charged, most polarized, most energy, most resistance. Use that one. Next, within that memory, now you're going to get really specific. You can go internal, go inside. You can journal about this, but even just closing your eyes and going inside, and getting connected, find that moment of shock within the memory. Yes, the whole memory, there's going to be one part of the memory that's most shocking. Maybe it's something someone said, maybe it's something someone did, and what these are going to point to are the thoughts you had in response to what was said and done. So get really still and find that one thing in the memory. And what's interesting about this is the memory could be a car crash, but the thing that shocked you was when you got out and your, brother looked at you and said, yeah, that was your fault. And the crash didn't even matter, even though it was intense and scary. It was that one little sentence. So find, what is that? Just that moment. Get really still. What is the moment that I have most resistance to? I most ruminate about? I most feel like a victim to? What was said? What was done? And now we're going to start pondering. This is going to lead us here. And what were my thoughts about what was said and what was done? I can't accept that. I'm bad. I'm wrong. Right? So now over here, we're looking at an identity that was either revealed or formed. And again, if this happened later in our life, most likely it's being revealed. It's already there. It's already been there. This event didn't necessarily create the trauma. It revealed a deeper trauma that we couldn't escape from or deny or avoid. So we're looking for an identity statement. This is, I'm not trustworthy. I'm bad. That was mine. I'm not trustworthy. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm not enough. I'm stupid. I'm too much, right? You're finding that statement. And you're looking, let's say it was something someone said. You're looking at, okay, where did I reject that? Where is the part of me that's like, no, I can't accept that about myself? Because that's actually your freedom. Because if you feel like you can't accept what they said about you, it's because you believe it's true. So you see, you're denying the truth. It's not the deepest truth, but in order to get to the deepest truth, we have to get through what we're actually believing and acknowledge it. Acknowledging negative beliefs and negative stories that we believe about ourselves is the first step in transforming and transmuting them. They have to be welcomed to the table just like positive beliefs. So if it was something someone said and you go, no, that's not me. I don't want to accept that. I don't want to see that. Maybe it's I'm too much. Or let's see, I'm powerless. Or I'm bad. Let's use that one. I'm bad. And I deny it because I don't want to look at all the other experiences in my life where I feel bad and guilty and ashamed. So to deny that would be to protect me from maybe a lifetime of playing out, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, and feeling all the shame and guilt connected with it. So I had to deny it in the moment because it was too painful, right? Internalized can look like it really had nothing to do with you. Someone goes, you know what, you're just a bad person. And in that moment, you believed it. Wow, it's true, I'm bad because this person said it. Now, again, this will still come back probably to some form of denial, but the internalizing can be, okay, I'm going to believe I'm bad. That's only there because at one point I've believed it. I've already believed I'm bad, or I couldn't believe what someone said about me. Right? So if someone says you're bad and I go, I'm bad, and I'm just dwelling on that, then the version of the truth that I haven't got to is questioning if I'm actually bad. Okay, what's my proof? What's my evidence? And stay, for now, in that scene. In that scene, I'm bad. Eventually, we're going to get to, is it true, and questioning that. But we're looking at, okay, yeah, I decided I was bad in that moment. And see, this is going to be an identity. It's like, if I just believe it and I ruminate, but I don't move past it, then yeah, I'm gonna stay in this rejected identity. Because that's an identity. I am, fill in the blank, is an identity. Anything following the I am is an identity. So if I resist and deny, no, I'm not bad, I'm not, but I actually feel I am, or if I attach to it, I'm really bad, it's true, there's no way out, I'm going to keep proving it to myself, I'm going to keep creating evidence, then either way, we're not completely in the truth. Because again, in denial, I'm saying, part of me thinks I'm bad, but I don't want to face that. And in this, we're saying, no, I am bad. And the truth is, no one's fundamentally bad. And you just haven't seen your goodness or innocence yet. So see how with denial, to get to the truth, it might be actually accepting and acknowledging, oh yeah, I do feel bad. But that's not going to free you. It will to some degree because you're going to end the resistance. But you have to then get to a deeper truth. And we do that through owning the parts of ourselves that do feel bad, and then questioning if it's the actual deepest truth about who and what we are. So we start by finding a rejected or adopted identity. A rejected identity, what did I deny? What was I just, no, I can't, I won't accept? Or what did I adopt? Because of this is proof that I am fill in the blank. Get that identity statement. Start with that. This will then reveal, if you look at that identity statement, I was bad, I was wrong, I was too much, I'm stupid, I'm not enough. And you just see yourself, and you could stay inward here, see yourself in that situation, believing those thoughts about what was in response to what was said and done. First, we start to realize, oh, it's not necessarily what was said and done that hurt. It was my thinking and believing about what was said and done that caused me to feel a certain way. You can't have a strong emotion without a belief or definition about something first. Emotions don't exist in a vacuum. They are feedback. So in this moment, something was said and done. I had a belief and definition about it, and that created this identity or revealed this identity. And now let me take a look. Let me, if I'm in my mind and I'm seeing this like a film strip, let me zoom out of that film strip and let me look at all of the film strip scenes that are connected to this identity. Let's say it's I'm bad. We look at, we go in the past, go further. What was before that? What was before that? And you start to see that this memory is a symbol of a core belief that has been on repeat, which is what a track is, that this track then creates a lot of associations. It could be dating, can be an association, certain foods that you develop allergies that are associated with these memories, fragrances, smells, colors, symptoms, places, seasons, times of the year, certain people, clothing, anything can be a track. An environment, a place in the world, Instagram, whatever it is. So these all become symbols of something that's more ineffable. So we start to see, okay, it's not really about the memory. And the memory is a symbol of this identity in different clothing, repeating over and over and over to get my attention. This is also where we start to see, okay, can I define that? Can I see that as an actual supportive function? Can I create a context that says, well, without that, I wouldn't be able to see these core beliefs about myself. And this is actually life bringing me what I need when I need it in order to free myself from these core beliefs that when I believe them, create allergies, resistance, dissonance, judgment, fear, anger, addiction, self-sabotage, everything that I don't want. And it just so happened that this moment of shock was what I needed to reveal some unconscious conflict and series of conflicts and behaviors and thoughts and feelings that hurt and caused me stress and disease. That I had to. Why? Because I did. Because it happened. That's reality. It had to happen because it did. And I had to be shocked out of a way of being that if I really sit into it, I really just, what's the word I'm looking for? If I really project this version of me into the future for the next 50 years, that doesn't change this way of being, is that hell? Is that the scariest thing that I could possibly imagine? And it probably is. And take a moment there of just, if this didn't happen, what would have continued my entire life? What patterns, series of disappointment, betrayal, whatever it might be, would have continued for the next 50, 60, 70 years? And look at your life for a moment and just start to see, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. Would I have course corrected without this shock? So you might not be at the place where we can have full gratitude, because gratitude isn't something you will. It's in the absence of resistance. But you can start to see, oh, wait a second. This person, because usually it's going to revolve around a person. This person was a symbol of a series of beliefs. This is not about a person. This is a package of beliefs dressed up as a person who revealed to me an identity, that revealed to me a track. And now I'm going to go into all of the related memories and start to see, oh man, this is much bigger than that event. Look at the time. This is much bigger than that event. And start to write down. Now this is where it's like you can have the memory, maybe draw it. If I don't have my marker, draw it on a piece of paper on a whiteboard, that initial memory, and then have all of the branches of all of the other memories that have reinforced this identity. And what's big here, I'll just remind you before we go here, is that if it's like, I'm bad, before you go into letting that go, just own it. Yeah, I am bad. And what's my proof? What's my evidence? All right, mind, give me all the memories of me being bad. And write them down. Look and see all of them. These are all symbols of the core belief. Once you've done that, once no more memories are coming, and once you've kind of had the realization, this is much bigger, this is a track, this has been with me all my life. This has probably been with my parents as well. This has probably been passed down through generations. It really has nothing to do with me and nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me in the sense that how I respond to it now can alter this course. So after I've done that, I now find the truth. I find the truth of the experience through inquiry, and then I live the turnarounds. And this is how we resolve the conflict. So I start with, is it true? So let's say I'm in an experience, and I'll just use one of my own. And I'm still working on one of my tracks, but I've definitely resolved a lot of conflicts that created skin issues. I resolved my indigestible morsel conflict, the kidney collecting tubule program, which is around abandonment, and what was the other? I can't absolutely confirm that I had a resistance conflict, but I think I did, and I think that's also resolved. And there's still a couple I know that I'm working on because I still have a degree of fatigue that I'm working through, and short-term memory loss, which is separation conflict. So anyway, what's the truth? So I go to this moment of shock, I find the thoughts, I find the identity, and I just sit there and I question, is it true? And find one memory to start with. Find the most polarized memory. It might be this original one. In that moment, is it true that I'm not trustworthy? And it doesn't matter really if it's a yes or no. Because if it's a yes, then just start acknowledging where were all the moments I was not trustworthy. Oh yeah, I said this and I didn't do it. I said, I said I would leave if this happened, but then it happened and I didn't do it. And I said yes when it was a no. Right? And that might lead you down a little rabbit hole, because once you start acknowledging, you know what? It was true. Number one, you stop rejecting and denying. And now transformation can happen. And you can ask yourself, okay, I wasn't trustworthy. I said yes when it's a no. So why? What do I get out of that? How did that protect me? Because understand, all negative or self-sabotaging behaviors are here to serve you because you think you need them. So it's like, oh, I needed to say yes when it was a no to protect myself from being rejected, abandoned. And here's the paradox. When you see that truth, that you own that that's what you were doing, you could ask the question, okay, if I were to hold my boundaries and speak my truth, I would be abandoned. They would leave me. Can I absolutely know that it's true? And go back to that version of you and have that conversation. Is it true that if you held your boundaries and you said what's true, that they would leave you and you would feel rejected? And of course you can't know that because you didn't have that experience. So the answer would be no, I can't know that. And then also look at, when I believed that, I rejected myself. I abandoned myself. I said yes when it was a no. That's self-rejection. That's self-abandonment. So look at how your strategy to avoid abandonment and rejection actually created abandonment and rejection, and that was the source of the pain, not the other person. So now we're just getting to the deeper truth of what actually happened. Right? I said yes when it was a no because I thought I would lose love. Is it true? What's the purpose of that pattern? Or if it was something like, I'm too much. In that moment, in this moment, I was too much. If you look at it, is it true? Is it true? Maybe you were just expressing your emotions deeply. Ask yourself, what's the evidence in that moment? I was too much. Is it true? What's my evidence? And if you can't find any evidence that makes sense, which if you really look at it honestly, you won't find any, because there's no such thing as too much. See, this is where we start questioning, there's such a thing as too much. We start getting to more fundamental concepts. Is there such a thing as too much? What determines something that's too much and something that's not enough? And we start to see that it was just BS. We just assumed it in the moment. I'm not enough. I'm too much. And then we can look all these other times. Oh yeah, I was too much here. I was too much here. And inquire, is it true? And maybe we discover it's never been true. I've just believed that about myself because growing up, my mom, mom or dad, when I would get really upset, would shame me and say, no, that's bad. That's wrong. But does that mean it's a fact that expressing emotion is bad or wrong? No, that's just what I assumed. And that's what caused my suffering because I adapted. I started holding it in and then I would blow up and I created for myself the too muchness. All an innocent way of adapting to try to get love. And that innocence, seeing the innocence and understanding what happened, those are synonymous. If you don't see the innocence yet, you don't understand yet. So just further investigation. So this is the inquiry. Is it true? Byron Katie's question is an amazing way to inquire. Is it true? When I believe it's true, yes, I wasn't enough. I was bad. I was wrong. What do I do? Who do I become? And it's going to point to your track. This is what I do. This is what I attract. This is how I respond. This is how I think. It's going to point to your track. Who would I be without that thought? This is a part of inquiry. Well, go back to that moment and determine and look and watch that memory and see, who would I be if I didn't believe that I was bad in that moment? Who would I be without it? And see the other person. And most of you would say, I'd be free. Maybe even I'd be loving. And then the question is we look at these turnarounds. So who would, what does that look like? What's the opposite? Let's say the opposite of what I did. Let's see here in the moment of shock, I attacked them. I withdrew. I became a victim. And then I adopted this identity and created my life in a way I didn't prefer. That's me with the identity. That's who I am with the thought. Who would I be without it? Go to the same scenario and look at the opposite. I'd attack. I pull away. I seek revenge. We look at all the things that we do with the identity story. Who would I be without it? Well, I'd have compassion for the person. I'd love them. I'd accept them. I might still move away. I don't need to have tea with them. But I start to see an entirely different life play out. And those are the turnarounds, which is essentially taking that identity statement and looking at its opposite. In that moment, I was bad. Let's look at the opposite. In that moment, I was good. In this moment, I was enough. I wasn't enough. In that moment, I was enough. And we start to look for evidence where that's actually true and more true. And then the question is, how do we live it? How do I live this now? And this is where we go here. What is my new response? And all of this reactive, adaptative way of being and persona that we adapt to protect ourselves has an opposite. So you first identify, what have I done? How do I hide? Who do I blame? What do I pull away love? What's the opposite of all that? I would give love to certain people. And this is what we call reporting. Maybe I have a conversation with them and I say, look, when we had this moment and this was said and this was done, I had all these thoughts that I believed about you and me. I now see they're not true. But when I did believe they were true, this is what I did. This is who I became. And what are the consequences in relationship to this person? I pulled my love away. I attacked you. I made you wrong. And I'm sorry. How can I be a better friend, daughter, son, husband, father, partner? That's what we call reporting. Reporting just says in our inquiry, what the truth that we find, we report back to the people in our life in which the conflicts were created, and we don't leave that stone unturned. That's one way of creating a new response. You're going back to the situation from truth and love, which makes you feel safe, which that's how you know when you're ready for that conversation, meaning you're not going in with expectations. You're not going in needing their validation anymore. It's truly for you, but also just to extend love to them because you see the innocence of it now. And that might take some work to really get there, but it can also happen just by seeing all of this. So reporting, I'm showing my body this old dynamic is now safe. And it is a really powerful way to talk to the subconscious, is to actually go back to that person and have that reporting conversation. It's a really powerful way to change your brain. And then secondly, you look at, what are my new responses? Well, they're the opposite of the old. How can I put them into practice today? And again, this isn't like, don't force yourself. This isn't about willpower. This is about understanding that this isn't true and really living into, who would I be without it? And use your imagination. Maybe it's setting boundaries. Maybe it's starting a new project. Maybe it's creating more content. Maybe it's just resting. Right? Instead of maybe this sent you into go, I need to perform now mode. So it would be, oh, it's okay if I don't perform, I could rest. That's the most empowering thing for you. So you have to find what those new responses are and actually do them today, like as soon as possible, and make that your new lifestyle. Because all of your chronic symptoms are only associated with this version of you. That's literally a different version of you. Think of it like a 6-sided cube. And after this event, you were all green. All your sides of the cube were green. And then boom, this happened, one side went red. And that different version of you, which is totally different than those are two different cubes. It's not the same cube. If one cube has 6 green sides and there's another with 5 green and 1 red, those are fundamentally different cubes. So they're going to have different expressions and symptoms. Now you've integrated that red back into green, and that's a different version of you with different symptoms. And that's what this is. And the measure of change is you're able to make new choices even if your environment doesn't change, even if the other people don't change. Your response to them and to other people is what changed. That's the true measure of change. And when you start living that way for its own sake, because it's your joy, your excitement, your passion, your inspiration, it's just naturally, authentically who you are, there's no reason for chronic disease. Because the reason for chronic disease was just to bring up the inauthentic pattern that was subconscious that you needed to be shocked into. And once that's integrated, you'll find the memories don't show up, the rumination stops, the anxiety stops. The unknown isn't about, how do I protect myself from the unknown? It's, oh, look, infinite possibility. How exciting. And you start living that out, and that's a healthy, vital human being, because that's actually our natural state. We get into regeneration mode. Telomeres lengthen when we're in inspiration and creativity. The gamma frequency of the brain starts to heighten, which is the most coherent the brain can be. Memory gets better. Time dilation, flow state. And you're going to experience a deeper access to that because of this whole experience. And now here's the kicker. This whole journey you went on describes now your gifts, purpose, passion that you can share and help others with. And when you're living that, all of this becomes a gift that you give to others for the only reason that makes sense to you now, because you want to, because it brings you joy. The passion of passion itself. So I hope that was helpful. If you need support with this, reach out to me one-on-one for one-on-one sessions, or you can join a group program. And give yourself time to go through this process. And I highly recommend, when you get here, to actually write it down. First have your inner experience, but writing it down is really helpful. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. I just turned the video off and I just realized there's one more important distinction to make. Conflict, resolving conflict. So many people go about resolving the conflict as if there's a problem that requires a solution versus problem dissolution, questioning the problem, questioning the conflict itself. And so this approach of inquiry isn't, how do I become worthy and not too much. It's questioning if it's true in the first place, right? So it's like, oh, I'm bad. Yes, own it. Own all the places that you found that. But then in the conflict resolution is realizing what you believe to be true wasn't. That's how you resolve conflict. It's not like changing yourself to become the solution, because anytime you think you need to become something more than you are, you create time. You go, I'm here. Here's time and space, and here's the destination I need to go to. And guess what happens? What you put in the future stays in the future. So you just do that for the rest of your life, and you're in this state of becoming versus being the solution now, which again, in inquiry, the last question of Byron Katie's The Work is, who would I be without that thought? And that's showing you how to live now. And those turnarounds are pointing you to the specifics. So again, it's not about, there's this problem and I need to figure out how to solve it and change myself. It's actually, let me question if that's the problem. If anything, the problem is the belief in the problem, that there's something wrong with me. That's the problem. So there's this quote in A Course in Miracles. It's like, forgiveness is to forgive others for what they did not do. And the same thing is true for yourself, to forgive yourself for what's not true that you believe to be true. But it takes a genuine insight of seeing what's true, and then as you see that, what's untrue dissolves. So I just want to make that distinction. Again, enjoy, reach out if you need support, and I will see you next time.